everybody, Jason Burmis here, and I've got another really great episode lined up for everybody. And before we go to Emma Fiala from themindunleashed.com, among many other great websites she's worked for, I want to talk to people really quickly why I wanted her on, because Emma is somebody who's interested in truth and not being a quote-unquote truther. And I'm not a truther. And I want to explain that to you and what the difference is. I'm somebody who's actually looking for the truth, reporting on things with discernment, saying I could be wrong, willing to change my opinion based on actual evidence, while others are interested in imaginary narratives. And there's an article out there right now that I have really mixed feelings with, because it talks about truthers and trutherisms. And it's debunking some of the conspiracy theories regarding, quote unquote, COVID-19. One of those theories, of course, is that, pneumonia has just dropped right off. We're seeing this everywhere. But if you actually look at the models, what happens is they catch up after they're reported, and they're days, if not a week or two behind. You see how that's working? So everybody out there that doesn't think there are more people dying in New York, you're just not close enough to the situation. And I want to explain to you, it is not normal for a man who is 49 to lose his 47-year-old brother and 73-year-old mother within 24 hours of each other, unless it's a car accident. Okay, you have to start using discernment and deciding what you believe. And I want to show people this, because as I've told people, my cousin, who is my age, he's a little bit younger, very healthy, skinny, fit, never sick, tried to get the COVID-19 test several times. Okay, she lives downstate, Hyde Park area. They first didn't want to give it to her. Then when she did get it and she felt so sick that she actually quarantined herself, it took they said it was going to be a couple days, then it was 5 days, then it was going to be 10 days. I think it came like on the 7th day that they said she tested negative and she had pneumonia out of nowhere. Now they contacted her. Notice the line is here, all right? They contacted her after the fact this week and set her up for another test. This is a picture from said testing area, just in case anybody thinks that I'm making this up for some reason, because I make up my sources. And I lie all the time, apparently. She said when she got there that the radio was jammed and the internet was jammed. That neither her actual FM radio was working and she could not do this. Now, I suspect this is the next level of testing for antibodies, because she probably tested positive. And they've been lying about a lot of things. And we have to realize there is a huge level of dishonesty here. But I think a lot of people have it misdirected. And that's why we have @BuyMyElf on the line. In fact, you guys can follow her and should follow her over on Twitter, as well as the Mind Unleashed account. And she is a current editor over there. That's where you're seeing a lot of her work. Emma, I am sorry for the long-winded intro. How are you?
Considering I'm doing pretty well. How are you?
I'm okay. It's tough. I haven't been able to get a haircut. I look like I could be an extra on, the Sopranos reunion show at this point. It's not the best, I'll tell you right now. As I've said to everybody during this time period, and even before, I prepared. I don't think anybody's ready. So why don't you just take us through your journey of reporting on this for now, and then where you're at. So when you really started paying attention to it, where your reporting was at the beginning and where you are today.
Sure. This is actually something that I've been thinking about going back and talking to people about a little bit more, because as you know, everybody has an opinion right now about what's going on, and everybody's acting like an expert. Not that I think I'm even close to an expert on this at all, but back at the very end of December, and especially throughout the month of January, is when I first started paying attention to this strange sickness that was happening in China. And the majority of people who are chiming in right now with comments on what's going on have been paying attention to things more recently once they got to the United States, which is fine, which that's what you expect people to do. But there are some of us who have been following this for a lot longer, and that information, that background, seeing what happened in China, especially seeing things before they went on lockdown and the effects of that, really adds a lot to the way you're able to interpret what's going on now. So like I said, I started paying attention to this stuff a little bit then, but I wasn't diving into it too deep until things progressed pretty rapidly there in China later in January. And that's when I began really reading up on it kind of constantly, and then began reporting on it before we started having actual confirmed cases here. And then obviously my reporting and following it ramped up a ton once it got here. But it's been something, like I just explained, that I've been paying attention to for months.
So let's talk about the China situation for a lot of us. You know, that's when I started reporting on it. You know, I remember my very first thought of it without looking at any videos, et cetera, I joked about it. And then as the days and weeks progressed, and you saw these things that were just sneaking out, and you saw no level of reporting in the mainstream media on any of them, and you saw the ability of the Chinese people to lock down 60 plus million people almost instantly, I immediately said that was frightening. And I said, look, I don't know about this virus, but I know what I'm seeing is not a good thing. What I really started to pay attention to, the body counts being a very stark reality that people would not accept, was when we started to get to first world nations, and it was no longer possible for them to distort the numbers as much as they were able to distort them in China. Because if anybody believes at this point that only 3,000 people died in China, you did not do your background research, you did not watch the videos, you did not read the in-depth reporting, you did not look at the NASA imagery and the reports shortly after of their internment prisoners going into 80 plus factories to start the supply chain again. You just don't have any background on it. And I get it. You know I got a lot of an audience in the last 2 weeks. You know what I'm saying? But you have to understand these things before you start believing every nut job out there that thinks there is a concerted effort for hundreds, if not thousands, of nurses to lie. So let's move into the next phase of this, into it going not from just China to Iran, but then China, Iran, and Italy. What was your take at that point?
Yes. So as I was watching things like you develop in China, I thought what we need to look for is if this spreads somewhere else. If it stays in China, it stays in China, and that then this I can interpret what I'm seeing out of China kind of with a grain of salt. Like you said, it's China. We don't really know exactly what's going on there. It spread to Iran, and then it was still like, well, we know that there are discrepancies sometimes with the information that comes out of Iran and the way that US media might be reporting it and this stuff. I was lucky to have contact with somebody via Telegram in Iran. So I was able to kind of see what that person was saying versus what was actually happening in the media. And then it spread to Italy, which is exactly what I was hoping wouldn't happen, but was waiting for it to happen so I could further form my opinions and see, let's have this, if it spreads somewhere where we can kind of compare our healthcare systems a little bit more, when we can potentially compare the demographics of people a little bit more, and then let's see what happens there. And you saw what happened there. It was terrifying what happened there. And that was exactly what we needed to see, though, to hope that people would start recognizing this as actually a threat and something that's scary. It went from 3 very different types of countries with different types of governments, different types of healthcare systems, and it was devastating in all of them. There's no room for there to be massive coordination between the governments and the doctors and nurses in these 3 different countries to coordinate some sort of like disinformation campaign that's supposed to trick us all.
And let's continue with that, because if you were even paying attention to the people that were telling the truth out of China and Chinese studies, believe it or not, guys, I hate to tell you, it's hard to silence 1.2 billion people, no matter what iron fist you have on them. I'm just letting you know. People still have souls. They're not fucking robots over there. So for those of us, again, who are paying attention to this, and the people that were reporting the truth, we looked at this and said, wow, they're saying this is like a combination of SARS and AIDS. And even if you survive a bad bout of this, it could cause irreversible lung damage like cystic fibrosis. This is an article from the beginning of March. I've been covering this for well over a month. Where have you heard this in the mainstream media? Nowhere. Where you do hear it is from my sources where? In Brooklyn, Queens, Stony Brook, and then Dr. Liddell does that video that goes viral, and the mainstream media has refused to air any of it. He said it was a different thing. This is not pneumonia. We need to treat it differently. Slowly but surely, people are saying, you know what? We're going to take these people off these ventilators because they're actually doing more harm than good. And I don't know whether we're seeing more of a positive situation. I don't know what the reporting is. What I do know is that it is a reality. They are picking up corpses now for days in Enterprise Renovans, not a hoax, with the military. People need to understand that. The mass quote-unquote graves in Hart Island, they are not a hoax. Those, I literally have people saying that those are empty boxes they're putting in there. Empty boxes. I mean, guys, I'm going to tell you again. Just because you're a human being and you have a subconscious that does not want to believe that we are under attack by a bioweapon, and that's one of the problems that I have with this article. You know, when they talk about truthers, you know, a lot of the stuff I agree with, but then when you question whether it's a bioweapon, they admit out of the gates that, let's see, where is it? Hospitals are empty. British scientists revise doomsday prediction. The 5G stuff, can't even talk about that. And listen, I'm not a proponent of that, but you don't censor it. Engineered bioweapon, it says, weirdly, both Chinese and American nationalists believe this theory. Gee, I wonder why. It's not attacking children on a mass level. Anything in nature that comes out, it does. It does. For it to not be effective against weaker and undeveloped immune systems should let you know out of the fucking gates that this is a bioweapon. Okay? And if they're going to get me off of YouTube, I'm sorry. That's what all the evidence shows. And I've already been demonetized. In fact, I didn't even put that spiel out there, guys, but I'm going to do it right now because they took all my money away. No super chats. Can't get your thoughts in. I need your help more than ever. I got to hit that 5K mark or better every month now. I mean, they just took a lot. They took, you know, $1,000 to $3,500 a month away from me and my family for speaking the truth. And the funny thing is, before they did it, the last 13 out of 14 videos I did got remonetized by their system. I mean, if you want to talk about arbitrary. So let's talk about this now, because a lot of people are still under the impression that the country could open on May 1st. And I just keep telling them that's just not a reality. They're pushing the narrative. They're pushing it back. They're trying to keep people calm during this time period, because what I suspect is this is going to be months and months, and I hope under a year. I mean, I hope it is that 6-month mark. I want to see humanity push back. What are your predictions in the coming 3 weeks?
Yeah, so there's a lot of talk about opening things back up. And in some ways, with some of the recent whistleblowers in the medical community that have come out and said that the way that they're tracking and quantifying deaths and stuff are inaccurate, I'm a little bit concerned that they might be temporarily winning that narrative, that this is not as bad as people expected it would be, and they might walk back a little bit on some of these lockdowns and walk back a bit on some of what's happened over the last month or so. But if that happens, we're going to see a massive second wave of this, and that's incredibly concerning. As much as I'm like you, I don't like lockdowns. I don't want the government to be doing this and to making this be making this worse. So
let's stop it there, because you know what? Before we get into that, because we're about to deal with a scary topic. One of the things I've very much tried to do is say, look, there are other treatments out there that are being used in the mainstream that are being suppressed. You know, no one's talking about the massive vitamin C infusions, intravenous infusions, multiple times a day in conjunction with hydrocortisone. Okay, they're being used in Arizona. They're being used in New York City. That's one. I've got another one here. There's a new antiviral out there. I believe that. Where did I put that? Well, there's the microdosing of thimerosal. And again, I'm skeptical, but it's out there. You know, this is, they are testing this. This is a drug. I haven't heard about it in the mainstream one time. We could massively produce this. If this one time, droplet of microdosing thimerosal through a day saves a bunch of people from 40 to 80 years old, I'm all for it. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Maybe you'll have to deal with some heavy metal stuff on the end. If you're going to get 10, 15, 20 more years, I don't know. But this would solve a problem, right? If they just had to come in, take the drop, oh my goodness. We don't need a vaccine. I think that we would rather take a microdose of just thimerosal, basically, than a vaccine with every adjuvant and thimerosal at possibly dangerous levels. But again, not being talked about. So there's other antivirals out there other than hydroxychloroquine. I want to make that clear. I'm not trying to scare people. I think that is the solution. Voluntary massive testing, nothing forced. We set that up for the military. They have to be rapid fire. If they have the symptoms and they come up positive, let's try the microdose. That's very cheap. Let's try the vitamin C if all of a sudden they get more critical. Let's do all those things. So this is something that you catch and you go in and they can actually treat it. And it's not this big scary thing. However, that is not what they're doing. They're talking about ventilators, and now it is leaking out, Emma, that if you're on a vent, it's an 80% chance of a wrap. So let's take it from there. In the next few weeks, because where do you think it's going? Do you think they're actually going to unlock it and that second wave comes to scare people because that's what this is about and control them?
Obviously, the people in power and our government are going to try to use this to the fear they'll use to implement new things that they've wanted to for a while. That there's no question there. That's not a crazy conspiracy to think that something like that is happening. Of course, that doesn't mean that you also have to think that this has been manufactured and this whole thing is fake just to get us to that point. They're going to try to profit in the way that they want to off of anything that's happening here and potentially increase fear to get us there. We don't really know right now. But that is something to look at, all of the treatments that you mentioned, that there are different ways that people are trying to figure out how to treat this, which is normal for them to not know how to do it right now because this is new. Some people are looking at all those various different treatments and thinking that they're trying all these crazy things, and they're thinking that in itself is a conspiracy, but this is a developing situation that we've never experienced before. So they're going to be trying to figure out what to do about it. But we are seeing a lot of those things suppressed in the media, and we are seeing people constantly talking about a vaccine that's coming or bigger programs like that. And that's something that bothers me personally, and I know it bothers you too, that the treatments are there. This is an active thing that's ongoing. We need to put in more time and more thought and more studies into how to treat the people that are very ill right now, that are going to be ill over the next couple of weeks, and that are dying right now, as opposed to 18 months down the line, we might have a vaccine to prevent this. That's a far way away. And there's a lot of people that are going to get sick and a lot of people that are going to die between here and that and then. So if vitamin C is helping, if a microdose of thimerosal is working, whatever, we need so many more things like that to be tried. And we don't need people who aren't doctors to chime in and to not let people do these things. You know, the governor of Michigan, she said that she wasn't going to let her doctors try certain things.
That's fucking nuts.
What the heck are you
it's
doing?
Fucking nuts. It's medical martial law. And the thing is, along with the medical martial law, and this is another thing that I want nothing to do with, is right now your smart device, doesn't matter if it's Google or Apple, okay? And those are the only two ones on the market. Talk about a monopoly. They're going to track, trace, and database all coronavirus patients and then tell you on your phone if you're close to one. That is the next app that they are now announcing in this forget about 1984 meets Brave New World. This shit is on fucking steroids. And they rolled it out so quick. Drones that will take your temperature. Drones that are telling you to go back in your house. We're here, baby. And that's why I'm so upset, because you look at this now and all these intelligence reports are coming out that there were these low-level warnings because people were seeing the same thing you and I were, and they were in a position where they could probably talk to. They kicked me off of YouTube. Unfucking believable. Hold on, we're gonna restart it over. Oh no, we're back. We're gonna be back. This is why you gotta also watch it on Periscope, folks. You can't tell the truth about any of this shit. I mean, I don't know what else to say. Are we going back again, guys? Oh, there we go. We're back on. Unreal. All right. So anyway, all these intelligence reports get suppressed by the real military-industrial complex, not a nation state, And guys, I'm going to watch that Epoch Times or the Epic Times documentary, but I'm telling you right now, I don't believe that China released this thing. And I don't believe necessarily it came from the Wuhan lab. Maybe, could have been, but it could have easily been Fort Detrick. It could have easily been a site in Israel we don't know about. It could have been easily a site in South America. We live in a very integrated world where the predator class on the top doesn't give a fuck what flag they're flying. All right? And for this to infiltrate every single major government, every single major nation state and cause a problem lets you know that no nation state did it on their own. I just cannot believe that. And the problem is that the propaganda now is the US did it, or China did it, or now it's Trump's fault because he knew. And no, Trump, they fucking strung that stupid bastard along, and he's not that stupid. I'm sorry, sir. I think you're a smart guy. I think you get puppeteered a lot. I think your cabinet shouldn't be people like Gina Haspel, fucking Bill Barr, fucking the worst of the worst Mike Pompeo and others. All right, brother? And Dershowitz as a lawyer, I mean, you really need to look in the mirror. But the bottom line is, those type of people, they love this shit. They love more control. They love the chaos. They love to capitalize. They understand that it's not the red, white, and blue they're fighting for. It's the big bucks, media, military, industrial complex, and the people that puppeteer them, Emma.
Yep.
Oh, so I'm sure that you saw the prison riots. Do you think that we're going to see more and more of those? I mean, I'm going to play this for people that missed it yesterday or that think that I'm lying, that the media suppressed prison riots in Kansas. Dude wearing a CO jacket. We're not going to pop off at the mouth. I mean, entire wings of prisons are now being taken over from the madness because, again, COs are making what? 15, 20, 25 bucks an hour? They don't want to be there. Why the fuck would they want to be there? I mean, things are going to get wild. I guess my next question for you would be, other than the prison riots, are we also going to see finally the bank runs with all this massive unemployment and, you know, all this money being printed up? Is that, for instance, I don't know if I can bring it up because I didn't, let's see if I'll just get it up here. My bank, the lobby, you can no longer even make an appointment. It is closed. So everything is going to be, it's only ATM and night drop now. You used to be able to make an appointment, but the lobby is closed, folks. So prisons, banks, society, what's next, Emma?
Yeah, I'm sure you've seen a lot of those, the video and images of people lining up to get food right now. There's been hundreds, if not thousands of cars down long, long roads or lined up in parking lots waiting for food. And I think food is going to be the thing that we see people panic about probably before bang that much before the pandemic began. It just shined a light on it so we can see it more clearly now, and there's more people involved in it now. And that's not going to get better, especially if we do open the economy in the next couple of weeks. There's probably going to be a second wave of this, and that's not going to, a couple weeks from now, and having the economy open for a couple of weeks is not going to fix this quickly. This is a huge, huge problem. So many people are suffering. It's happening, like you said, in prisons. The prison riots are definitely going to continue. There's going to be less people willing to go into work there. There's going to be people getting sick that work there and unable to go into work. That's definitely going to continue. People who need food are going to not sit patiently in a parking lot or on a street when they haven't had any food for a week or so. We don't know exactly what's going to happen, but that is going to continue. The supply chain is going to continue getting interrupted. There's talk of truckers striking, truckers not being willing to drive right now because they don't feel safe. If they begin to get sick, they're obviously not going to be able to work. This is the tsunami or the aftershocks that a lot of us were talking about at the beginning of this, that, yeah, you might not be afraid of getting sick because of this virus, but the impact is going to there's going to be a ripple effect impact for a long time. It's going to affect food. It's going to affect banks. It's going to affect so many things. And none of that is going to be fixable instantly. Open the economy tomorrow, and this is still going to be a problem, and people are not going to just sit still and take it, especially when they're being told to lock down, not go outside of their house. We're just creating tension because we told people to stay home. We told people to stop going to work before we offered them any help. that was exactly the wrong order to do things in. You need to assure people that we've got this figured out. We're going to support you. We have plans for food. We have plans for your jobs or whatever. Don't freak out.
Well,
But we
listen,
didn't.
if
That
we
way. We
lived
did
in
the
the
wrong
red,
order.
white, and blue they sell, all right, this is how it would have went down. I'm just gonna let everybody know, if we lived in America, the beautiful, and we were the best, we're number fucking one. Number one. We love our country. Yeah. Babies, prayers, and vitamins. If we were that, then when this started to break out in December, especially in China, our intelligence would have not only assessed it, but promoted the ones you're going to see over the next weeks and months come out. They would have promoted that. They would have said, okay, well, let's get in there and start getting a cure that works for these people. Actually help China on that. Because China's using CT scans on lungs in mass. That's how they're figuring out who has it bad. We haven't even talked about that in this country. That's also over a month old. Hence the cystic fibrosis stuff, guys. Just to clue you in how far behind we are. All right. Then you figure out, all right, what's the treatment? If it's vitamin C and hydrocortisone, then yes, you have the military take over factories that are already abandoned, yet set up to be retrofitted, because we got plenty of them fucking here, everybody. Just so you know, 80 to 90% of our economy over the last, 50 years has been shut the fuck down. Those are empty factories, so no problems there. That's how you mobilize the National Guard. You mass produce this. Then you also mass produce tests and PPE equipment. That way, no matter what, if you haven't closed the borders properly by then, because he did at least close the Chinese border, okay, there's a start. You have a leg up on it. You have testing facilities everywhere. Anyone that wants to get a voluntary test can. If they do come up with either the symptoms or a positive, in short order, they go to one of these makeshift facilities they've already made, not in a college campus, okay? Not in a major population zone, but somewhere close enough that they can go. Treat them with what works, whether it's the antibiotics, or the antivirals they're using, the vitamin C, the D, the thiamine, whatever, because they've tested it for 2 fucking months. Minimum, because they started doing this in December, and by February, they had everything built and they were testing. Think about how quickly this has moved. In 5 weeks, they've already built facilities. So don't tell me that we couldn't have done it, especially retrofitting. And you tell the people the fucking truth. And then maybe you don't have to do all the lockdowns, because now you have an infrastructure that's set up. If people are getting sick, they're immediately taken there. You have the PPE. You're not worried about ventilators where 80% die. That's America the Beautiful. That's the one I grew up with. That's not reality. Instead, you got a bunch of bureaucrats, Event 201 style, Johnson & Johnson, NBC Universal, Bill and Melinda Gates, Johns Hopkins, the World Economic fucking Forum, the real gangsters deciding what happens to you and your family and your fucking economy, and it makes me sick, Emma. I'm throwing it to you, girl. Take it.
No, totally. There is absolutely, it's absurd to think that it didn't happen in a way where suddenly like some people think that it suddenly came here and then that's when our government was supposed to start thinking about this. Like you said, there's no reason that they could have not been preparing for this when they first started talking about it, because they did. And you can't tell me that these people that you just listed didn't all sit down in a room together or whatever and plan, how can we benefit from this? How can we use this to further whatever we're trying to do, to make money off of it, whatever. But that's not, we don't live in a place where they're thinking of how to better life for all of us and make us healthier and make us happier. That's never part of the conversation in our country. In the midst of all of this, we have still been sanctioning other countries. We have put a bounty on the president of another country who happens to be also battling coronavirus. We have bought more F-35 jets. We are not stopping the normal business that our country is in. Our country profits off of war. Our economy is a war economy driven by the war machine. That is what we do. Ideally, if we lived in a perfect world, our military, our National Guard would be activated right now to help us. but they're not. And that maybe they're helping a little bit. You might see little things that are happening here and there, but we do not have an a military that helps us. Our military is purely on overseas and trying to further the goals of our country, as opposed to serving the people that live here and protecting the people that live here. So we have like this major disconnect that we always have in what people think our country is and what it's actually doing. And there's a huge light being shined on it right now, and you it's so hard to ignore what's actually happening, but some people are still trying to do it, unfortunately, and just waving the flag and like, yay, everybody's doing a great job right now. No, they're not.
No. And again, everything I said that could have been done in December should have damn well been done in February, and it still wasn't.
Yep.
None of it.
Nope.
I mean, especially when they started. Listen, a lot of people say I was pushing fear. There's a lot of hungry people that if they had, thought about that 6-month food supply, they wouldn't be so hungry if they listened to Jason. Because I'm telling you now, what are they getting? They're getting dry bags of beans, folks. What did I say? Rice, beans, that's cheap. Just do what you can now. Just prepare yourself. That's what they're lining up for. So again, call me a fearmonger all you want, but this is the truth. The military is on the streets, and they're not mass producing vitamin C and PPE equipment. No, instead, they're trying to use the Defense Act, right, to get privatized corporations to do it for them at a profit. Fuck those guys. If there was any time to just do it ourselves, since we're paying the military anyway, and at best we just get their raw goods at a price, that would have been it. But no one's going to talk straight to you like that. And I'm seeing some pushback in the chat about the Chinese virus, or that it didn't come from a lab in Wuhan. Let's not forget, one of the first people that was promoting that theory was Uri Geller, who was a former CIA asset, who the CIA got rid of once they realized he was working for the Mossad. And when he said that it came out of China and it was a bioweapons accidental release from there to Iran, he said, don't worry, Israel's already working on a vaccine. That's the guy to trust. That's your fucking narrative. Don't you forget it, because that's in my Corona Journey videos. Go check them out, guys. You got to be tuned into this. There's so much misinformation and disinformation and delusional psychotics out there. I mean, they're legitimately out there. I mean, there are people that are just so in denial they can't believe this. There are also some very sane people that, again, the cognitive dissonance will not allow them to understand what's happening in New York, because they live in Oklahoma. They live in Utah. This hasn't been right in their face. And do you think at least there will be a mass awakening to the seriousness of this issue health-wise within the next couple weeks? Or do you think the denial will continue to our very detriment?
I hope there's a mass awakening, but I'm getting less and less hopeful for it when I see the people that I personally know that are increasingly pushing back on this. It's been really strange and disappointing to see the things that some people are saying right now. I think that the only way that some people are going to be awakened is when they are personally affected by it, and when either they have it or a close family member or friend is personally affected by actually the virus. Because there are people that are ready to accept some of the other stuff that's going on, accept that they can't find food or toilet paper or whatever, but just blame that on the bigger thing that they think is just fabricated here and been constructed on purpose. There's a lot of people that, unfortunately, I don't think are going to be ready to accept any of this until it is literally and badly personally affecting them, which is a problem in our country and always has been. That's why we can have this war economy and we can bomb people and starve people all around the world every day, because it's not happening on our doorstep. It's not personally affecting us. Exactly. A huge flaw.
The people at the top don't care what your skin color is. They don't care if you got 10,000 in the bank, 100,000 in the bank, 10 million in the bank. You are a speck of dust and dirt to them. They will blow and wash you away. And that's why, again, people got to get it through their heads. This is real. This is not contrived. We are being attacked. And yeah, there's a good chance you'll survive this. I don't think it has a huge death toll rate, but the people that do show symptoms, and then have to be hospitalized, it's not great for them. They're not giving you like the good numbers there either. It is not great for them. And I'm going to just read this comment really quickly before I block this person, because I'm liberal with blocking. I have no problem with it, guys, just to let you know. Jason, I understand you're worried about your state and your family, but you're there. There you go again. Psychotic people. Yes, there are psychotic people. I want to let people know there are sociopaths out there as well that just care about views at this point for some reason during a time that people's families and loved ones are being affected. My family, my loved ones, my friends, they're down there. So I do take this very personally. I just want to say that right now. Disgusting that people are funding your channel to be humiliated for their views. No, I'm trying to get them past that. I'm trying to get them to look at a reality of a situation that those aren't empty coffins at Hart Island that I was reporting on 3 days before fucking the mainstream touched it. Why am I so ahead of this curve? Why did I let you know that colleges weren't going to reopen? Am I Nostradamus? I'm not. I'm not. I'm not saying I am. I don't have Uri Geller spoon-bending powers. What I have been doing is making films and studying this stuff for almost 20 fucking years. And it is worrisome. I mean, the Orwellian nightmare is already a reality in places like Iraq. Remember, I mean, Emma, let's talk about some of the technology they've used to oppress the Iraqi people for a second. A lot of people just don't understand that now Canada is saying they'll visit your house with a police officer, right? They're saying that. We now have apps that are going to track people. If this gets bad enough, will you have National Guard knocking on your door like they did in Rhode Island before Cuomo pushed back? And I don't know what's going on there, but Cuomo's a gangster. Maybe he's just not against oppressing humanity. Maybe he sees, hey, that's a little much. I don't know. I don't know. We'll see where we are in a couple weeks. I have hope for that gangster motherfucker. I don't know that I should. In Iraq, when they had an undesirable or somebody who was on the terror list, they literally had a biometric scanner for their eyeballs back in 2004. Do you think that technology is the next technology that's going to roll out after people get comfortable with the phone app?
You know, we've already got the biometric scanners in airports that they've been rolling out into more and more airports to get people comfortable with them, which is something important to point out too. 9/11 happened, airports got kind of crazy and weird, and that's getting worse and worse and worse and worse. They use something, whether it happened organically or happened on purpose or whatever, and then continue to further their goals down the line. It doesn't get better. So biometrics are something that they've been trying to get people more comfortable with for years. And oh, this virus happens and it's a great time to start tracking people's biometrics. Maybe we should ramp up our technology because we want that in the end. You know, that's what governments like China are all about using. They've got apps that if it's green, you're okay. You can go out, you can travel, and you have to show that to people. The WHO is saying that China's methods worked really well. They're draconian measures where they locked down, but also they used the technocratic state to track people, and they're still doing that, and that's probably not going to stop.
And they've never, hold on, Emma, and they've never pushed back on their official numbers when they're so obviously false. And that should make you want to puke because, again, the WHO sat at that Event 201 table. George Gao of the Chinese CDC sat at that table, and so did Stephen Rice of the CDC. All people, guys, that if I don't go lockstep with on YouTube, they're the authoritative source. All right, and I'm going to tell you right now, they're full of shit. And, you know, I want to just respond to you, Scott. I know I love you too, brother. And you can say that I'm blocking people that aren't in lockstep. No, I'm blocking people that think that people aren't dying and they're putting in coffins and that, you know, my hospital friends are lying about these people dying and that they don't understand that family members don't die in mass within a week from anything but like a car accident and trauma. That's not a real thing, guys. So people have to get into reality. I don't know what else to say. You know, I'm not trying to hate. I'm trying to get people past this very mentally ill perspective that every country in the world is hoaxing this together for some reason.
Yeah, what are the chances that that would actually be happening? Like that, you know, I'm all about thinking about conspiracies. They happen. You can't deny that. We have tons and tons of evidence. We have admissions that there have been conspiracies in the past. They happen. But the grand conspiracy that it would be for all of these governments to be in on the same thing, as well as so many doctors and nurses and ones that you and I personally know, is just, I can't even like respond to those people. it's crazy to
It's
think that
maddening,
it's
right?
that big of a conspiracy. I don't get it.
I don't get it either. I just, it's very hard for me to understand those people with that perspective. And I've talked
Mhm.
about the two main strains, and again, stuff that you're not hearing about in the mainstream media. That's the other thing. My friends aren't going along with this mainstream narrative of what it is.
Yeah.
They were actually, telling the truth. They were showing the documentation, for instance, the one in Stony Brook, her draft letter that she basically got a form letter to come and work there, where she's normally just pediatrics, but now working with people up till 30. The military makeshift facility is in the back. I just showed you pictures that my cousin took this morning at the Bear Mountain testing facility. What? Why, when I have never manufactured anything in my life, all right? I've had offers to go on fucking TV shows like Ancient Aliens and what was the other one? I was supposed to be on a 2012 episode of before 2012 of Conspiracy Theory after the Jesse Ventura years when his son was taking it over. And quite frankly, they didn't like what I had to say because I was based in fucking reality and I'm just not Mr. Fantastical. And what we're seeing, it's fantastic in a sense, but it's not fantastic for you and me. And it's going to
Hmm.
work out for some of these people. It's not going to work out for others. And I'm
Hmm.
telling you right now, I'll start believing otherwise that this is some kind of natural event when billionaires start dropping dead. I just until I see Sheldon Adelson or Bill Gates go down, until I see Ted Turner drop dead or any of these other people that have been advocating for eugenics for literally decades, I've got my opinion. Emma, I'm going to let you wrap it up. What do you think the most important thing people need to understand right now is, and what do you got coming up for us on the websites?
Well, the most important thing that people need to think about right now is not getting all of their information from one source, whether it's mainstream media or independent media or whatever. That we need people to be thinking right now and to be doing some research on their own, especially while people are at home right now with extra time. They're pretty much everybody ever has more time right now. So now is not the time to just repeat things and to just parrot what other people are saying. Look into stuff. Don't just share a YouTube video like it's fact or whatever. Like, think about what's going on and try to educate yourself. Now is definitely the time to do it. If you're going to make a claim about some conspiracy that is so grand that every government is in on it and thousands upon thousands of nurses and doctors are in on it, then support that with something. I'll listen to you if you support it with something, but if you're just going to like comment that, then I'm not going to listen to you. So just get used to doing research. Now is the time to do it if you haven't done it yet. We all have brains. We're all capable of it. We have the internet at our fingertips. We have nurses and doctors that most of us are connected with. You probably have one in your family. You probably have one in your friends list on social media, someone that you went to high school with or whatever. Try talking to them. Reach out to somebody and talk to somebody instead of just repeating what other people are telling you. That's just a huge frustration of mine right now. It usually is, but it's extra right now. So that's what I want people to get used to right now. Just get information from a varied sources and then put it together and mix it around in a pot and to put a
Figure it
recipe.
out.
Figure it out
For
for yourself.
yourself.
It's not
Again,
hard.
this virus, like I said, man, if you're a Christian, then you know this. I'm not a Christian. I'm not saying this, but I'm saying you might not believe in the devil, but the devil fucking believes in you. And you might not believe in this fucking thing, but it's already affected your life just like I said it did, and it's going to affect it more and more in the coming days and weeks, no matter what, I promise you. And that I'm not happy to say that. That's a reality.
Yep.
TheMindUnleashed.com is where you can see her most recent stuff. You can follow them at Unleash Mind, and you can follow her at Buy My Elf. Where else can they support you, Emma?
I also have a small and new YouTube channel. The link is there in my Twitter profile. It's Emma Sron, SRON. If you search that on YouTube, you'll find me. I am trying to record videos about a few different things.
Well, there it is. I'm going to put this
Um,
in the chat with the audience right
thanks.
now, and I want to thank you again. We got to do this again in the next couple of weeks because
Yes.
obviously there's a lot going down.
Yes, there is. And I appreciate your coverage and how you've been following this for a while, and we've really lined up on a lot of what we've been saying and what we've been hearing and what we're sharing with people. And unfortunately, that's kind of hard to find right now, and it's kind of weird. Like, I don't know if people realize that people like you and I are kind of stuck in the middle right now, where people either think that we're repeating the mainstream information and numbers and narrative
we're
too
not.
much, or they think that we're not. We're like, it's weird. There's not a ton of people who are like, yay, I agree with you, I know what you're doing. Like, we're really in the middle.
Well, here's the
and
deal. People have problems that ideas have to be mutually exclusive, right? So I'm not allowed to believe that the threat of the virus is real and still be against military martial law and medical martial law. They don't understand that those aren't mutually exclusive ideas. I can put that because that's where the facts lead. They can't understand that I'm not pushing for a vaccination as the solution to this, but that's not to sleep on this because we do need some kind of a treatment. All right. So all these things are extremely real. I'm not saying that it's a good thing we have to be 6 feet away, because I believe that's part of a transhumanist movement. But at the same time, I can realize that this bioweapon is highly contagious. And that's the problem. And, people, will think around that all over the place. They'll try to point to 5G, even though obviously people outside of 5G areas are getting this. And then if you say that that's not associated, then you're pro 5G, even though 2.5, 3 years ago, again, not mutually exclusive ideas. I understand that it's not good for your immune system. I understand that it penetrates your skin. All right. There's a lot to talk about there as well. So I think that people have to be way more nuanced right now, because this is COVID-1984, baby, and it is a global transformative event. And like I said, Emma, we will be in touch. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you very much for having me.
You got it. So there she is at By My Elf. Go follow her. And guys, I want to show you something. First of all, make sure to go check out my documentary films. They're free on the channel as long as they don't take me down. But I put this out there over in Vermont when they did it. Now Walmart has now taken away the ability to buy seeds at their stores, as they are also non-essential. All right. And I think, this is Orwellian. So one more time, I'm going to put this into the chat. $5, $10, $15. It means the world to me, guys. If you can be a big donor, now's the time to really help me out. Again, YouTube took away my ability for super chats. I won't do the memberships with them because, how can I trust these people? They're pushing authoritarian lies. And if you want to check me out over at Rockfin, you can make a free account right now. Make the free account Tuesdays at noon. A exclusive live broadcast that is free, that everybody gets to see. And then we're going to also be posting premium content there. I'm going to be posting again to Minds today. I'm not sure what I'm going to be posting, but maybe it's going to be the full Event 201 series. And I know you guys are looking for the finale. Maybe we'll do that tonight. I don't know. I'm kind of overwhelmed. I'm not going to lie. I'm trying to spend time with my nieces and stay up on everything. I love you guys. Thank you so much for all the support. Please go check out themindunleashed.com and Emma's stuff, because it is top-notch stuff. I'll see you on the flip side.